I didn't want to... I thought this looked a bit clunky, kind of blocking her head. But if I put it here, it looks like I'm censoring something. I don't know what to do. Happy belated International Women's Day. We are a week late, but it's better to celebrate women all year round. This week we're celebrating the top 20 video game tracks composed by women. And there's one track in here that is also sung by a woman. I'm sure there's many female players in these orchestras as well. But we're going to be focusing on the composers. Yoko Shimomura above us, our goddess, watching over the show. The show is produced by Rudi, Longbow, Steve, Claudio, Kris, Cyflan, and Xenmas. They have done the work to submit the songs and are here to add their commentary to it. So let's do it. Right now, this is a Yoko Shimomura track. I don't know what it's from. I put on the very best of Yoko Shimomura, and I just let it ride. And there ain't no worry about that, baby. Our first selection, chosen by Rudi. This is composed by Yuki Kajiura from Xenosaga Episode 2. The track is Chase. Chase. I wasn't expecting a drum solo. I was expecting a drum fill, and then a longer fill, and then a longer fill, and then you realize this is a drum solo. Oh my god. That's crazy. What a nice track. I was kind of enjoying it so much I didn't even really think about what I was going to say about it, other than that it's just got a really fun kind of trip-hoppy, well, it's got that like garage drum track. The interesting thing about that drum beat is that it does that. The way that kick comes in earlier, the third time, it kind of gives it that almost like not a full-on chase where you're consistently making straight momentum. To me, it sounds more like a chase in, say, like you know, like an 80s movie where they're chasing through the alleys and people are like overturning fruit carts and stuff, and it kind of sounds like that. Or like you're playing a game of the quick time event and you're succeeding in some places and you're failing in other places. It definitely has to feel like things are, it's not a straight shot. Pretty interesting. That was awesome. All right, next up is going to be from, our next composer is Ayako Aso. The track is from Street Fighter EX3. It is Cracker Jack's theme, and this one was chosen by Longbow. This theme is so bloody triumphant, especially when that melody comes in there the second time. It's interesting. You're asking a chat about what country this would be from. I hear the castanets and I think Spain, and I could be wrong about that, but I do love anytime you hear accordion. It gives you such a feeling of like traditionalist, because it's one of those instruments that could be played before electricity and created a lot of noise just on its own. It was human powered, and you could do everything with it. I mean, you could play bass, you could play chords, you could play melodies. It had buttons for the chords as well. I mean, this one starts off really sort of. I think it's perfect for like a fighting game, because the first half of it is really sort of. It's got a mystery to it, the way it's doing that bolero kind of Latin bass, boom, 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 and like a killer performance on what sounds like a fretless bass. Definitely a fretless bass, just that like silky smooth, which to me in like a fighting game, when you start off the rounds, you're sussing each other out, right? You're trying to see what you would each do, and then the like second half is just maybe you know you're gonna win, and it's just so triumphant and just so like unrelenting and so man. That was beautiful. Next up, from Our Lady in heaven above us. She's alive still. Yoko Shimomura from Xenolade Chronic. This is main theme chosen by Steve. Very powerful, very moving. There's a real kind of heavy weight to it. There's a very long, winding melody that just builds, falls down, like somebody said in the chat. I mean, her work with piano and violin and the whole orchestra is just incredible. What she's so good at, you hear it in this theme, you hear it in, Somnus from Final Fantasy 15. As soon as her tracks start, there's an immediacy that you feel the emotional impact. And I don't know how you do that, but she has a way with doing that. Next up, we're going to be celebrating Minako Hamano for her work on Link's Awakening. This track is Face Shrine, chosen by Claudio. Wow, what a beautifully dramatic track. Composed for the little tiny Game Boy chip, which has some nice sounds, definitely. I mean, it definitely continues on the great stuff you could do with the Nintendo, but to me had a bit more color to it, a bit more life, and a bit more personality. This is something that you could play. I think this would sound great on a solo piano or a solo harpsichord. Or it would sound, you could play this on like a cello or something too. Because because on the Game Boy chip, you're not able to play too many sounds at the same time. So it has to do everything with arpeggios. And then those arpeggios outline the chords to you in your mind. So you can, even though the notes aren't being played at the same time like a chord, they still express the same emotion of a chord. But there's something about it being played on the Game Boy sounds as opposed to a piano or a, stringed instrument or a harpsichord that gives it a bit more of this loneliness to it or melancholia. And a little bit of delay just to sort of give it a bit of space and give it a bit of air. And then that last kind of run there is, to me, very, very Zelda, especially the early Zeldas. I think it's a callback to the very first Zelda dungeon theme. Boom, 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 boom. Which this would have came out. I guess this would have been like the third Zelda game ever. It was impressive all around. I mean, Zelda being one of the first open world games, big adventure on the NES, being drastically different for Zelda 2, and then to put that same Zelda adventure in a Game Boy and basically still capture everything that makes Zelda great, and the music too. It's like a wonderful achievement. To power it all with 2 AA batteries too. And for those young people out there, batteries are what people used to put into socks to hit people in the head in jail. This is the remake version from Link's Awakening, the 2019 soundtrack. Would that have been if you grew up playing the Game Boy version and loved it, then you played the remake, and then you hear that long intro, and you're like, oh, yes, I see that they've updated it. And then they bring back the Game Boy arpeggio right in the middle of it. But now all those strings around it are just like pulling with each of those big jumps that the arpeggio makes with the really dramatic chord changes. And then when you have those strings just like pulling you from side to side, oh, it's like it's got one string on the bottom of your heart and another string on the top of your heart and just pulling them apart. Oh, that is an effing good remake. Good lord. Well, let's try to follow that one up. Our next composer is Winifred Phillips. She composed for Sackboy. This is Waltz of the Bubbles, and it was chosen by Kris. My bad. I wanted to loop it, and I pressed L thinking L was loop, but apparently L is skip ahead. I guess I should have known that L wouldn't be for loop. Anyways, what a beautiful track. Wow. Really making use of that waltz feel to create the weightlessness and the floatiness of being underwater. It's definitely, and like using a lot of very soft tone instruments like string plucks, and even some like silly kind of bubbly sounds. Probably one of the best uses of wind chimes. Wind chimes can almost always sound really cheesy. When you're listening to like a slow R&B jam, and at the end of the first verse, it's a long wind chime. It's very cheesy, but in here it just fits in so well in the background. Great job, Winifred. Our next composer is Michiko Naruke, who composed for Wild Arms 2. This is Field/Last Ignition, chosen by Cyflan. Man, that is so nice. It definitely, I assume, like you're saying, this is the second world theme that you hear. So this would be the part in the JRPG where you are now off to, you've got your airship, or you've got the ability to like really save the world. As you can see in the background in the gameplay, it looks like, I don't know, whatever you need to fix has kind of come into play and is encroaching on the world. What I like about this track is that they have a really wide variety of instruments that kind of get their different times to shine. And what that says to me is like all the places that you've been in this world are all kind of coming together, you know, different characters from different lands. I mean, it's got the organic acoustic drums, it's got this synth stuff that's being played kind of really fast and really kind of like peppy, really optimistically. And then, yeah, they just sort of highlight all these different things. Like, I think there was sort of an accordion type sound. Works really well. Really, really fun track. You know, when you hear this, it's time to use the rare potions. Oh, this guitar! A little halftime. Oof, that is really beautifully arranged. Wow. Okay, next up, the composer is Rika Muranaka, and the vocals are by Aoife Ní, I don't know how to pronounce this, Fhearraigh Fhearraigh, maybe? I think it's Welsh or Irish. But this is from Metal Gear Solid 1, The Best Is Yet to Come, chosen by xenmas. it's hard to turn that song down, but we eventually do need to move on. What a beautiful track. So, I mean, so much of this game, everything just fell into place. When you look at the cinematography and how that stuff we just expect and now has become so overused that it's a bit boring. It was very impressive at the time because we hadn't seen a game presented really like a movie before. But also, I mean, these cutscenes were handcrafted, right? These are all like in-game models, and I think there's something about that that was more impressive. And then taking a track like this, which is not really, when you think about like your typical action game, this is very sort of light and feminine and airy and like organic. And I mean, when you're thinking about military men in a submarine with red lights and dark, dingy places, this track evokes, you know, open Irish fields. And I mean, it sounds like it would fit better in, I know it's not Irish, but Braveheart. Or like an old RPG or something. So, but there were just so many things in this game that came out of left field you didn't expect. You're just constantly surprised by it, and that's what makes it hold up so well, and how it was so revolutionary. Even if at the time it was really short, but in that short running time, there are just so many surprises. Which, as you know, as an older gamer, I'd much rather play a 4-hour game with surprises than, you know, a 50-hour one that feels like where you can feel it being patterned out. Anyways, this track it's really gorgeous. It doesn't sound generic in any way. It's built so well. It repeats a lot of the same moments throughout, but finds a way to like slightly change the dynamic and the delivery of it, that it doesn't get boring. It just almost feels like you're on a boat, eh? Sort of like the waves of that rhythm. Maybe on a horse, going over that next little green hill. This track really gets you in the mood to fight a giant shaman named Vulcan Raven. Our next is by Jun Chikuma from Saturn Bomberman. This is Staff Roll, chosen by Rudi. Wow. So that's on the staff roll of the Sega Saturn Bomberman. I don't know what the rest of the soundtrack sounds like. I've never heard it. But the nice thing is on a staff role, you can tend to do something a lot different. You can go for something kind of really victorious, a fanfare type thing, or you can just relax. And after a stressful game, like Bomberman probably could be, this is like a great kind of menu theme or an options theme, something that you can just really relax and listen to. And if the goal is to let the player feel like you've won, now you can totally relax, and we're going to play you 5 to 10 minutes of credits. Credits probably weren't that long back then in the Sega Saturn days. They're not like they are now. Like when you watch a movie or a modern video game, the credits list is huge. Man, that is really, really bloody gorgeous. Thank you, Jun Chikuma, for that, and Rudi for picking it. Yeah, and how about that drunken stand-up bass? Those huge slides. All right, taking a break from composers. This one is going to highlight Michiru Yamane. Nope. Ayaka Iida, who did the vocals on this Tales of Arise track, Blue Moon, chosen by Steve.
いつかまたここでその時は笑顔でいたい何億と月日が流れてもあなたとならば人はそれそれ背負うものが剥がれこの星に生まれた意味を知る強く生きるため弱さを隠して恐れずに痛みから始まる続いてく物語に私はいるのかな届かないこの願いに少しだけでいいから聞こえてよ触れたいよ信じるよめくってあの時は向き合えなかったね未来を信じてコンパスを握りしめたね人はそれぞれ
Man, she has such incredible tone and delivery. It's like a very like sultry and flawless victory. I normally hate video game music that has vocals, but this is really nice. And I would have thought she was American. You see a lot of like Japanese singers. From what I've heard, they tend to sing like more nasally. And this is a bit more like breathy and kind of yeah, it's more of a modern English style, and not the band Modern English. Really beautiful. I mean, she kept me captivated the whole time. I would have kept going with that as long as it took to hear the end of a story that I don't understand. Well done. That was Ayaka Iida, who's known in Japan as Ayaka. Our next track, composed by Michiru Yamane from Skullgirls. This is The Fishman's Dance, chosen by Longbow. very video gamey track in the way that it kind of feels like 3 different songs in a way, where it drastically changes from the A section to the B section to the C section and then further on. It's very proggy. I think it works pretty well. It's pretty fun. It's very well done. It's beautiful, it's pretty. It's trying to do a lot. I think that this track would probably maybe be more effective if I was watching. It feels like this is supposed to be with a cutscene or something, because it's the way it so drastically changes. Yeah, it's interesting. Next up, our composer is Manami Matsumae from Shovel Knight. This is 1,000 Leagues Below, chosen by Claudio. That is so bloody nice. It's got... There's just so many, like, cool polyrhythmic layers. Now this one, it's cool because, you know, compared to, like, the Skullgirls one, that one had a lot of different sort of elements to it, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm so much more drawn to this. Maybe it's just more up my alley or more effective in some way. It does such a great job of using those old 8-bit sounds, but just making them like really lush and like adding a lot more bass. I like the way that you don't get a snare until the very end. Just gives it much more of like a floaty feel, but then with that sort of unexpected slam right at the end, almost like you're sort of like holding a big giant hammer. Ugh. And then they double it up here in the chorus. Beautiful. It definitely feels like you're climbing rather than going down, absolutely. Definitely feels more Castlevania than Mega Man in the way that it's like the more intricate, more elegant, whereas Mega Man's usually a little more like pounding, which I think really suits well, I mean, this game was a nice blend of, is Shovel Knight more Mega Man or more Castlevania? Definitely feels more Mega Man, 'cause it's more of like a straight line, whereas Castlevania are going all over the place. These are like very straight ahead linear levels. Anyway, it's beautiful. Our next composer is not from Japan. Her name is Jessica Curry. This is from Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. The track is Aurora, and it was chosen by Kris. Wow. That track does a hell of a lot in just under 2 minutes. It sets the tone with this very sort of like filmic, kind of indie. Definitely sounds like looks like a late 2000s movie score. Really dramatic, but there's almost like a slight hint of like mysticism to it, or like spirituality perhaps. And then it just built so well, and the surprise vocal that I couldn't quite figure out what language that was, like Latin or a made-up language or something. It's almost like seeing a little leaf floating to the ground and then like a big whirlwind kind of picking up all the leaves around it and trash. And then you realize we're all connected, even the trash. Yeah, I like the vocals. They weren't distracting. I think not singing in English is the key. That's the second time we've noticed that so far. Oh, Dragon Quest vibe. Interesting. I don't know a lot about Dragon Quest, but I could see that from the few Dragon Quest songs I can remember. Of course, my favorite Dragon Quest song from Dragon Quest V, Heaven. Next up, our composer is Miki Higashino. I believe this is her second appearance on the stream so far. Nope, it's her first. This is from Suikoden 2, Imprisoned Town, chosen by Cyflan. Man, that's beautiful. They're such a heavy weight. I love the tempo and the rhythm they chose for this waltz. And the way that they have just like a big, heavy, reverbed, low kick drum, or maybe like a timpani sound on the one. In the previous section, of course, the rhythm has dropped out as soon as I begin talking about it. Sounds regal but villagey, maybe a tempo. Yeah, I could see that. They're definitely having a lot of fun with the different instruments you can add on with it being a PlayStation 1 game. Really simple melodies, but like very, very powerful. What a beautiful track. We're going to be hearing from Higashino 2 more times today. We have another track from Yoko Shimomura, this time from Super Mario RPG. This is Smithy Theme, and it was chosen by xenmas. This song is huge. I don't think I've ever heard this before, but it just has so much confidence, so much swagger. It really, man, it just bashes into the room, starts dancing around with that big fat bass and these like crazy rhythms. Just like so much of it is so unexpected, but it's also very, very accessible at the same time. Oh man, I love those sort of ghostly, oh, and really unexpected chord changes too. This must be some kind of like a remaster or something, because this sounds so much bigger and thicker than almost any Super Nintendo track I've ever heard. But I also wouldn't be surprised it was just the way she can bring things out of limited hardware. Oh, it's like pounds. Way to go, Yoko. All right, next up we have our second Miki Higashino track. This is from Suikoden Volume 2, Opening. This is chosen by Rudi. interesting track. A lot of it feels like it's in like 3/4 or 6/8, and then the way it kind of doubles back almost makes it seem like it's in 9/8 at times. It's like a real impressive track musically, but it doesn't sound so needlessly complex. Like it's not trying to just show off. I think it's just really trying to give a feel of like a lot going on, and like maybe by playing with the feel of it and the time signature and stopping, just kind of having these parts that feel extra kind of complex. Sort of gives it like an exotic feel, but like it's an exotic land that really has its own long sense of history and has been civilized for a long time. And then just like tons of shredding flute. Maybe because it was a side game, they felt like they could go a little crazier, have a little bit more fun with it. Who knows? But it definitely had me captivated the whole time. Our second appearance from Manami Matsumae. This is originally composed for Mega Man 5 Cutman, but this version, I believe, is from Super Smash Bros. The Ultimate soundtrack, as heard on Wii U and 3DS, chosen by Steve. Breakdown. All right, now let's compare this to the original track from the NES game Mega Man 1, Cutman. I think I prefer the NES sounds. I know they're simpler, but I love how deep it basses and how fast it moves. And it's got that Mega Man melody. You could just play those notes of like ba-da-ba-ba-da, and that kind of like that scale that it's in, that rhythm that it uses. that that sound that it uses on the NES. Definitely like an homage to the other tracks on the Mega Man track. It's just got, yeah, it's very heroic, but it's sort of kind of dancing to and fro to sort of mimic all the crazy dodging you're gonna need to do in a game like a Mega Man. No, they really had to outline so many things, like we were talking about before with the arpeggios. Look, all they have for drums are just sound, like crushed down sounds of which ends up just sounding like brushes on a snare. They were so creative. I love that bass sound. And that delayed high melody. So beautiful. Our next composer is Fumie Kumatani from, that's right, Sonic Adventure has made its way onto our list. This is Casinopolis, or Casinopolis, chosen by Longbow. The track is Dreamy Stage. Track. It's I mean, it's kind of loungy, it's kind of big bandy, it's really sort of like sloppy and like live and kind of loose, and I think it sets the tone really well in the beginning with that bass line, which is not complex, but kind of has a lot of space in between its notes, with the way it does that long kind of slide, or that long note right on its second note. Boom. Just makes it feel like you've just let a yo-yo down or something. Yeah, it definitely, I mean, not that you should trust any casino, but it definitely sounds like more of a sleazy casino. The kind of casino that if you want a bunch of money, you might not be getting out of there with that money. Yeah. The money's just back here in the back alley. My cousin here, he'll get it to you. And from this gameplay, we can see all the fun you'd have from playing a 3D Sonic game. Go in the pinball machine over and over and over again, as they really like struggle to understand what's fun about 3D movement, or even what's fun about a Sonic game. This is the one from Mega Man 5. This is composed by Mari Yamaguchi. The track is Gravity Man Stage, and it was chosen by Claudio. There's so much amazing shit going on in this track. With just a few little voices, you have to be so like intricately arranged to convey all this information and this groove and this emotion and this rhythm with just I mean, I hate it when people call NES music bleeps and bloops, but I mean that as a compliment in the way that this game, or this music was arranged to create an entire world and get everything across with bleeps and bloops. Bloody amazing. And it definitely has that Mega Man. Oh my god. It's like a complete masterclass in what you can do. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that bass line. Oh! Good God. Mari Yamaguchi, Mega Man 5. We got another Suikoden 2 track. This is the battle theme, also composed by Miki Higashino, chosen by xenmas. Ooh, that looks solid. Yeah, very interesting battle theme. I see what you mean, Rudy, about getting tired of it. It goes in a lot of different places. It's a super dramatic theme. When you're doing this in a turn-based JRPG, you're going to hear it a lot. And this is a turn-based one, so you're going to be maybe sitting there and kind of agonizing over a few decisions. And this is like... This does so many things, and you're throwing these like discord, these like chord clusters at you, and like this part here, I feel like I just went through a bloody wormhole. Oh, you're traveling to dimension Y. Chromosome. But I love that intro so much. Very Metal Gear Solid. Has there been any kind of a theme with the tracks being all by females? I don't know. Not really. Excellent use of like layering. I'd say like more so this week than others. The like overlapping rhythms and use of maybe it's a multitasking thing, right? That's what they always say. That women are better at multitasking. Just like me, trying to speak while listening to the song and seeing the video, reading the chat. Can't do it. Can't do it. Our last track of the day. What a fun, inspiring group of music. I will put my track on, but for the YouTube video, this will be the last one. It is from Celeste, composed by Lena Rain. This is Scattered and Lost, chosen by Kris. Very, very man, what a beautiful track. Oh, it just keeps building. Interesting. I'm a big fan of the Super Mercado Brothers music podcast show, and they reviewed this album. I think it was like a patron request or something, and they felt bad because they kind of shit on it a little bit, saying that a lot of the tracks were pretty like simplistic and generally would start and just kind of like A minor, and just kind of like keep going down and go back up, and I think that some of the tracks do that. But I think this one does a really, really good job of, I mean, everything in it feels pretty inventive. Like, like the drum beats are so, they're like kind of sparse, they're kind of glitchy. I really love the tones that they chose for the drum beats, and then the way that they kind of drop things out and bring things in, and the way that main synth's like really lyrical and feels like it's telling a big story, and the way that the track just like builds so much. I don't think it's necessarily about the individual elements of it that might seem derivative. I think it's the way that Lena Raine composes and arranges and brings it all together, and the dynamics of it and the story that she tells that way. And this is definitely one of the standout tracks in the soundtrack. I mean, we've built into like almost like an acoustic drum solo 4 minutes into the song. I think it fits pretty well. I mean, well, it fits really, really well with this game. In it being, oh man, it's just so damn groovy. Man, that harpsichord thing, stereoing, sounds so good. Oh. Oh, man, that is good. That is an incredible track. What a journey you go on. Scattered and Lost by Lena Raine. If you're watching on YouTube, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our producers, Rudi, Longbow, Steve, Claudio, Kris, Cyflan, and Xenmas, for choosing some beautiful tracks. If you're on Twitch, we'll listen to another track that I'd picked from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And we'll choose our theme for next week, and we'll choose what time we're going to be doing these streams. Because I'm in Canada, we have stupid daylight savings time. You guys have different daylight savings time. So we'll figure it out. Goodbye for now, YouTube.